is a big topic of conversation in Spurs land. And of course, that's the rotations. And as we mentioned last episode, Pop has declared this is the experiment for 2023-24. So I'm not anticipating any lineup changes in the starters. But what we have seen over the past couple games is how we end the games. We talked about it a little bit earlier, but man, I feel like we saw almost like the longest stretch of time that Tre was out there on the floor. And let's see, how many minutes did he have?
24.
24 was that fourth quarter. Like, I feel like he was out there for like a 9-10 minute stretch. I think we subbed him out maybe for 2 seconds, and then we put right after we subbed Zach back out. He may have not even came off the floor. I can't remember exactly how that worked. But I know we did sub Jeremy in at one point, so I think he might have been out for like maybe like a possession or two. But for the most part, he was out there a lot. And even like Jeremy was still out there, like we mentioned. We mentioned the lineup that they finished with. Do you think that will be a trend moving forward? That he is going to be, despite him not being a starter, he is going to be out there in the crucial moments?
Yes, I do. I think he's the closing point guard. Maybe not closing, because I think Jeremy came in with like 2 minutes left or something like that to kind of finish off the run.
Yes.
But Tre Jones, he only had 3 assists, but his ability to understand where guys are, who's hot, who needs the rock, and push the pace in transition is just better than Jeremy at this point. So because he's played point guard his entire life, like you said,
Right.
and he played at Duke. Like Duke point guards are notoriously
For Coach
field
K.
generals. Like, and he's 6'1". His brother's an NBA point guard. Like, it's just going to naturally be that case. And I think of one instance of this past game specifically. He's running in transition, pushing the pace. He has basically 4 options because we're all running. He has Wemby running down the lane, Keldon to his right. And I didn't even see him, but he had a trailing Devin on his far left, and Devin had just hit that step back 3. So what did Tre Jones do? He lobbed it to that exact spot, knowing that Devin was running, and he caught the lob, and he could have pulled up. He didn't because he got contested. But it was that moment. It was like, okay, he understands. Devin hit a shot from there. He's the hot hand. I'm giving it to the hot hand in his comfort zone.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if Jeremy makes that play at that moment.
Probably not.
And that's no fault of his own. He's still learning. He's still figuring that out. He probably either posts somebody up or he tries to give it to Wemby running the lane.
Yeah.
Neither bad decisions, but that one, the Devin one, is the correct point
Even
guard
better.
decision. Yeah, he just makes the correct play. So I think definitely he's the guy, especially when our offense is struggling, that we're going to bring in to kind of get some momentum and kind of close things out.
And I think that just ties into all the outrage, man. Like, he's effectively a starter, and I think that's going to prove itself. Like, he's basically playing the Manu role right now. Like, I say that, I don't mean as in play style. I just mean as in he's the 6th man. He doesn't start, but at the end of the game, he's in there.
Yeah.
And I really, like I said, I liked how, obviously, you know, this is one game with that final lineup in, and we happened to get a win in one that the Suns kind of really gave away. So I'm not trying to sit here and be like, this is the final reason. This is for the rest of the season. We're going to be good now with these guys in at the end of the game. That's not necessarily what I'm saying. But what I am saying is it seems like it's a trend, and it seems like it's a positive trend. And when you talk about experience and setting everybody up, he can do that the best. And the other thing about that too is you mentioned kind of when we took Wemby out and we had last year's starters in. Jeremy is more used to playing off of Tre as well because he did it all last season. And kind of as I alluded to earlier when I was talking about that lineup in the first place, like they can kind of in that lineup they are playmaking for Jeremy, Keldon, and Wembanyama, which have been your top 3 scorers so far to start this season and in the preseason. And you love to see that for sure. Obviously, there's other things that Jeremy can do on offense, like set screens and cut and stuff like that as well. But I really like how he played off of Tre in that lineup to finish as well. He seemed like he knew where to go and what to do more because he has more experience with it.
Most definitely. And did you see what he tweeted? I think you sent it to me.
Oh yeah,
He's
I did.
taking notes right now because of all the people that are hating on him, probably.
Hmm.
So maybe we'll see a turnaround. Maybe that's something Pop's going to go with more often because I don't think he did that in the first 2 games. Is play
No,
with
he
that
didn't.
last year's lineup to kind of finish off games. So that would be interesting if he continued that route. But this game was a weird one because Malachi only played 9 minutes because he
Yeah,
shot so poorly, and Champagny came in for 3. So
that's
like he
right.
was searching out there. Poor Pop.
Oh my gosh. Well, hey, there was one assist that Jeremy didn't get that I wanted to shout out. It was just late in the game, that corner pass to Shetty that unfortunately he
Mm,
missed. But that was just such a great read.
yes.
And that was really an example of the growth. And the other thing I liked when you mentioned the 2 turnovers, obviously, we didn't even really get to dive into this too much. We I don't know how it's going to happen, and it's probably just going to take time. But Jeremy has offensive skill that is not being utilized at the moment, and I'm sure that's because he's focusing on mainly being a point guard. Um, but at the same time, those 0 turnovers and the fact that he was able to make good decisions throughout the game was huge.
For sure. Something to grow on.
Yes, yes. But when you talk about his offensive game, when we do picture him comfortable offensively, getting to the right spots, taking the right shots, in the flow of this offense with these starters to start the game, because as of right now, we just we just haven't seen it. As I mentioned in the last SSPN recaps, I went and watched every shot from this season, and it's like he's had a couple wide open threes he's made. Every time it's a moving jumper, it really doesn't look good, whether that's in the mid range or the 3. Um, other than a post fadeaway, but that's different than just like a moving jumper off the dribble. Um,
Mhm.
what do you feel like what does an effective Jeremy Sochan look like offensively in this lineup? Like, where is he finding his shots?
Right now, his shots have to come off of other guys, like as a cutter, off a dribble handoff where he has full steam ahead to crash the rim, and then spacing the floor, just spot up, no movement threes.
Yeah,
Right now, that's really all he can do because he doesn't have the best handle in the world, like we've continued to say all offseason. He's not taking anybody off the dribble right now, Jude, and he doesn't have a pull up game.
yeah.
So
He just runs into a post up when he tries to take people off the dribble.
exactly, and that's just not gonna work. His fadeaway and his hook shots aren't consistent enough off the
Yeah,
dribble for that to be super effective. He's a great passer when he gets into the post, but I think he's a better passer when he gets fed in the post, not when he
yeah.
dribbles into a post up, if that makes sense.
Completely makes sense. And when you're saying this, Ethan, all I'm hearing is just don't force it.
No, don't force it.
That's literally all I'm hearing. And that ties into another thing that we talked about last episode with the guys having to deprogram themselves. Because
Mhm.
last year, a lot of times, especially on last year's team, with him being the highest first round pick on the team, I mean, there were times last season where we were like, maybe this guy has the highest potential on the team.
Yeah.
And regardless of that, the point is he's last year he was told to force it at times. And now it's just a completely different situation on top of the point guard duties he's getting. So it's going to be a slow process. I'm glad we saw some step forward with the turnovers and the playmaking that we did last night. Still not perfect, but taking steps in the right direction. And then when it comes to his scoring, like you said, he's just going to have to play off of everybody. And
Mhm.
that's just a completely different role that will take some time to adjust to.
Agreed.
But don't worry, people, because in the fourth quarter, we have a different lineup.
And Trey and
We
Wemby
have
become
multiple different lineups that a lot of them include Trey.
Trey and Wemby. Well, I'm trying to think of a good comparison. Who do they become in the fourth quarter? They become like if Isaiah Thomas was teammates with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar, literally.
I think it's Stockton, but it's not Malone.
Dirk Nowitzki.
It's Stockton and Dirk. Yeah.